breaking down the deals, data, and disruption shaping global markets. You're listening to The Daily Ledger with Dennis Sert.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Tuesday, December 9th, 2025. You're listening to The Daily Ledger Show, and I am your host, Dennis Sert. Great to be here with you today. Okay, let's jump right into what we got here today. As always, let's start with some of the fundamentals. So the Dow Jones today is down 0.45%. NASDAQ also down 0.14%. S&P 500 is down 0.35%. And Bitcoin is looking at around 90K, so 90K 245. So that's sort of the state of the stock market this morning. Let's talk about our first story from the Wall Street Journal: how Trump's U-turn on NVIDIA chips changes the game for China's AI. And then we have a similar story here from TechCrunch. Department of Commerce approves NVIDIA H200 chips export to China. So basically, if you've been following over the past 6 to 8 months, there's been a lot of hubbub around this H200 NVIDIA AI chip. And apparently, it was kind of blocked by the US from being sold to China after Howard Lutnick in July said, oh, well, we don't sell our first best chips. We don't sell our second best chips. We don't even sell our third best chips, which I've previously said is a very dumb comment to make. I mean, you should really love your customers. I mean, just as a quick digression here, there's some startup founders that are kind of like antagonistic against their customers, like, those people, using my product. Like, I am not at all like that, just on principle. I mean, your customers are the only reason why your company survives at all, if it's alive. So, I mean, you should really be like on your hands and knees, sort of like kissing the feet of your customers, like as a startup founder. And that's sort of the principle that I have, if you'll take that analogy. But yeah, so I guess going back to the NVIDIA H200 chips being sold to China. So this is kind of a good thing for NVIDIA because they've been on a losing streak for about a week and a half, especially with the news on Meta and Google sort of entering a partnership where Meta uses Google chips for its Llama AI and Meta AI. And so we saw NVIDIA kind of take a hit over that. And it also shows a shift in U.S. policy going from like a full blockade, if you will, to sort of this managed dependence, right? So let's see what NVIDIA is at today. Yeah, see, they're up a little bit, kind of beating the Dow Jones, NASDAQ, and S&P 500, which are all down. Yeah, they're up 1.72% probably on this news. So we have that. Let's move on to this next story, also from the Wall Street Journal. Sam Altman's sprint to correct OpenAI's direction and fend off Google. The CEO is prioritizing achieving mass popularity through ChatGPT versus moonshot projects like artificial general intelligence. Yeah, so, well, I've been following this story for about a week now. Basically, OpenAI is kind of, um, they literally started like a code red. Like, Sam Altman sent like a code red email to all of its employees saying that, oh, Google is kind of catching up with Google Gemini. They have new models coming out left and right. Just a few weeks ago, they had Gemini 3 come out. Apparently, it has been beating OpenAI on some of the benchmarks, ChatGPT, that is. As well as Nano Banana Pro, which is like an image model that apparently does super well. And yeah, so OpenAI, of course, has been a little bit distracted over the past year or so with, as I said earlier, a few days ago, I think it was like on Thursday, I talked about how Altman has been sort of looking to back Neuralink competitors like Merge Labs. He's been looking to back um, SpaceX competitors. I don't think he's landed on one yet, um, but he was in talks with some of them, like Stealth Space. Um, and so, and of course, in terms of just AI in general, um, OpenAI was sort of focused on video generation with the new Sora model and then the new Sora app, which supposedly is supposed to compete with TikTok and whatnot and Instagram Reels. And now, and by the way, just to finish it off, I mean they partnered with Johnny Ive, yeah, of course, former Apple, um, and he's like a hardware guru, as we know. And now apparently they're gonna come out with some mystery product. No one knows what it is yet, but it's like some new hardware product. So now they're also competing against Apple, right? So they're kind of. I think it's fair to say they're kind of spread thin. Um, but yeah, so I guess now they're sort of reeling that attention back to like the improve the chatbots performance, like the retention, the minutes spent, etc. Um, so that's what it sort of goes into in this article. Apparently, they're going to release a new model this week called 5.2, and it sort of gives the executives hope that there's going to be new momentum, particularly among coding and business customers. Um, yeah, so there's that. Let's move on. This is the last story here. TikTok adds a space for organizing content with others. Teases shared feed. And this is from TechCrunch. So apparently, TikTok is kind of going into the um, is kind of leaning into shared spaces and everything. And this is so funny because I only just saw this article, about a half hour ago. But what was funny was yesterday I was sort of ranting on, sort of, oh, what happens when I think the impetus was Hinge talking about how they're going to roll out a feature that starts like conversations. And I was kind of talking about how people are going to just screenshot each other's as um, non-AI conversation starters and then just kind of share them around. Um, and so this kind of ties into that because I mean, it's a great way to boost retention, right? You know, with Hinge, it's when people um, screenshots conversations and then spread them around. I mean, that's great attention and retention as well on Hinge. And then here's the same thing happening, right? Kind of on a similar thread with TikTok launching these shared collections, basically where it's like it's a shared feed, and then multiple people like in a friend group kind of look at that same feed, and then they can they can like it, share it again and stuff. And this is gonna definitely have a spike in virality because if one person discovers a video, now suddenly everyone in that shared feed gets pulled back in into the app. So that's a really good idea. I love stuff like this, like gamification kind of, but specifically like within your own network, right? um and yeah, so turns out TikTok owns sort of has the crown in terms of short form content. Um, Users on TikTok spend around 95 minutes per day, whereas with Instagram, especially with Instagram Reels, but Instagram in general, it's 33 minutes per day. So 95 TikTok versus Instagram 33. So it's about 3 times as much time. Like users spend as much time on TikTok than they do Instagram. So this should only widen the gap between TikTok and Instagram Reels. So there's that. Okay, let's go ahead and switch into the sponsor of the show, which of course is Byte AI. Byte AI is a stock portfolio co-pilot Basically, you add in all the stocks you want to follow into your portfolio, and then it tracks the technical indicators like the RSI curve, Bollinger Bands, and MACD/signal curve, aka the stuff that economists and traders trade off of, just technically speaking, in a technical manner, as well as the news sentiment for those stocks. And so what happens is basically it's ChatGPT looking at all of that data in real time and then coming out with a succinct sort of recommendation or analysis, if you will, underbought, overbought, or neutral. But keep in mind that neither Byte AI nor I are financial advisors, and past success does not guarantee future results. Um, so that being said, I think a couple of these guys are generating their write-ups now. Sometimes I kick it off before the show, but this time it was kind of a cold start. Usually takes a couple minutes, but it's getting near the end here, so I guess we'll just wait a couple extra seconds. All right, NVIDIA underbought. NVIDIA currently shows a mild underbought setup. The RSI is around 45, suggesting room for upside before overextension. The price sits near the upper Bollinger Band with a narrow bandwidth, indicating a squeeze that could precede a short-term move either way, but historically supports mean reversion towards the mid-band when momentum is not decisive. Okay. News analysis. NVIDIA sentiment across the provided articles is mixed, but leans cautiously to moderately bullish on near-term AI compute demand. Okay, and then, but China, yeah, all right. China's specific restrictions on advanced chips, of course, that was taken out. Now, okay. Oopsies. Tesla underbought. Tesla shows a strong underbought setup. RSI at 36.6. Wow, that's pretty low. Price near the lower Bollinger Band and a tight MACD around the signal line. Oh, wow. EV winter environment. That's kind of interesting. Wonder what that means. I guess probably like fewer people are buying EVs. I actually saw, you know what? I actually saw an article on this. I was going to talk about it, but I didn't. But it was an article on the Wall Street Journal the other day. Maybe I'll talk about it tomorrow. Okay, Amazon underbought 48.4 RSI. Nice. All right, I think we'll go ahead and leave it there. There we go. Make sure to download Byte AI on your iOS device, so iPhone mostly. And then when you're in the web app, use the discount code podcast20 for a 20% discount off your first month. Hope you guys make lots of money out there in the stock market today, or minimize your losses, of course, using Byte AI. All right, this is Dennis here signing off. Have a good one. See you tomorrow.